On the 13th of November 2012, Treyarch released the 9th installment of the Call of Duty franchise. It was the first Call of Duty game to be set in the future, 2025, which is crazy as now we're in 2021, that is less than 4 years away. The game would become the standard to which all future first-person shooters would be compared to, as well as being arguably the most influential game in taking competitive COD from a niche to one of the top mainstream esports titles. The game brought lots of new content to both the casual and competitive scenes, much of which is still commonplace in the current Call of Duty titles. These include the Pick 10 class system, the introduction of a new game mode, Hardpoint, the first ever CODcaster role, and finally, and most importantly, the first ever ranked play, League Play. League Play was very influential in bridging the gap between the public match audience and competitive play. For the first time ever in COD history, players could compete against players of the same skill to progress through the League Play ranks. The system encouraged players to grind for hours on end to improve, but ultimately rewarded skill over anything else. The system is still considered by many to be the best ever offered in a Call of Duty game. However, in my opinion, it takes a close second to the ELO system of World War II. Stay tuned for that episode to hear more about that. Either way, the fierce competition in League Play drew many players to become interested in the competitive side of Call of Duty and showed once and for all to the developers that the competitive community was only going to grow, and this is something that they knew they could capitalise on. The competitive modes for the year were Hardpoint, Search and Destroy and Capture the Flag. The only change on the previous Modern Warfare 3 season was the introduction of the new game mode Hardpoint. It was clear very early on that Treyarch had struck gold with Hardpoint as a competitive game mode. It was exciting, fast-paced, had a high skill ceiling, and was very entertaining for the viewers to watch. For this reason, Hardpoint is still in the competitive rotation to this day, and bar COD Ghosts, where it actually wasn't in the game, it has been a competitive mode for every season since. The maps for the Black Ops 2 season were also some of the best we have ever seen in a Call of Duty game. In fact, Cold War features remasters of 3 of the original 7 competitive maps played in Black Ops 2, showing even 9 years later these maps are still amazing. The map rotation as of Call of Duty Champs in April of 2013 was as follows. Hardpoint was played on Raid, Slums, Standoff and Yemen. Search and Destroy was played on Express, Meltdown, Raid, Standoff and Cargo. And finally, Capture the Flag featured Raid, Standoff and Slums. Later in the year, Cargo was removed from the S&D rotation. A few other maps did briefly feature in the competitive rotation, such as Hijacked Hardpoint, Plaza Hardpoint and Aftermath S&D, but all of these were phased out quite early on in the year. The gun meta for the year, again, surprise surprise, was one of the best too. The game had a good balance between ARs and SMGs, with both players having multiple viable options to choose from. For the ARs, the AN-94 and the 4-round burst MAA-1 were the main guns used throughout the year, and on the SMG side, the meta was dominated by the MSMC. However, the Scorpion's high fire rate made it ridiculously strong, and so also a good pick for close range engagements. The B23R burst pistol was equipped on almost every class, except for a few players opting to run the fully automatic Cap-40 instead. As for the snipers, the DSR was the gun of choice for competitive players due to its increased damage over its main rival, the ballista. A lot of players would utilise the thermal scope or dual band as it was known, and when combined with smoke grenades, was a lethal combination in the hands of a good sniper. The League Play system in Black Ops 2 was also the first system to officially ban some weapons, streaks, perks and equipment from competitive play. Until this point, everything had worked on a gentleman's agreement or even an MLG game battle style rule set, but now the game developers began to realise that some aspects of the public match game didn't make for good competitive play. Weapons such as the FAL, a semi-auto assault rifle, was noticed as being overpowered and so were removed from competitive play. This also extended to things that were deemed newbie, such as claymores, bouncing betties, and various score streaks like UAVs. Despite this, LMGs and some shotguns remained, which in more recent CODs have also been removed from competitive play. I think the wider range of weapons allowed in Black Ops 2 allowed for some very interesting tactics. One of my favourites was this following play from Clayster.
Which is it's a good thing to do, because when you think about it, all the grenades, oh my... It's actually the smartest thing ever.
While in general Black Ops 2 was pretty good in terms of having multiple viable options for gameplay, one perk that stood out as very necessary was Toughness. The tier 2 perk granted the player lower flinch when being shot at and quite quickly became realised as a very essential perk to win any long range gunfights. Treyarch did pick up on how strong the perk was and how necessary it was, and so never added it back again in any future Black Ops titles. However, it did feature once more in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare before it was finally removed from COD. Black Ops 2 was one of the biggest years in terms of tournaments, both in terms of numbers as well as a very wide range of tournament organisers. MLG, UMG, EGL, Gfinity, ESWC, Activision, as well as many other small local LAN providers all hosted tournaments during the 2013 season. Among these tournaments was the first ever Call of Duty Champs hosted by Activision themselves. For Eco Impact, a team consisting of Karma, Killer, Mercs and Parasite won the tournament in a Game 11 S&D on Meltdown, taking home $400,000 of a $1 million prize pool. Team Envy took second place, and an Optic roster consisting of Merc, Big Timer, Scump and Nadeshot came third. The tournament itself was hosted in April, which is unlike more recent COD champs, which have been held towards the end of the competitive season in August time and are often the last major tournament on a game before it moves to the off-season. Either way, the tournament brought lots of viewership and excitement to competitive Call of Duty, which helped grow the competitive fan base at an even faster rate. The Optic Gaming roster of the 2013 season had high expectations from fans due to their large fan base. However, other than a championship at the first tournament of the year, UMG Chicago, they wouldn't win another event and only managed one second place finish at the MLG Fall Invitational much later in the year. Early on, Frico Impact began to dominate the scene, and coming off a hot win at Call of Duty Champs, it looked like they might be able to remain the top team throughout the rest of the Black Ops 2 season. However, a complexity roster consisting of Aches, TP, Crimsix and Clayster had something to say about that. Their dominance started with a win at the MLG Spring Championships, beating Frico Impact 6-2 in a dominant best-of-11 series to win the tournament. From here on out, they would win 6 of the 7 tournaments they competed in during the remainder of the season, placing second in only one after a loss to Team Unite, a roster consisting of Embos, Ricky, Nameless and Parasite. Across the pond in Europe, Team Infused and Epsilon were battling out as the champions of Europe, both winning 2 major tournaments during the 2013 season. Many of the players on these teams have remained big names in competitive Call of Duty, such as Josh, Tommy, Jerd, Swanee and Madcap. For me personally, BO2 was the first game that I personally discovered competitive Call of Duty through watching Optic vs FaZe S&Ds on YouTube. These videos are still up to this day and have managed to gain millions of views, and if you haven't watched them, I definitely would recommend going back and watching them. They're really interesting. My decision to start competing myself, however, wouldn't come until a few years later. Overall, Black Ops 2 was a fantastic COD for public matches and competitive play alike. The game has arguably helped grow the competitive scene more than any other Call of Duty title, and the introduction of Activision hosted events would be very instrumental in ensuring the growth and expansion of competitive Call of Duty. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to drop a like and make sure you catch the next episode where we will be talking about Call of Duty Ghosts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.